le président de la République à partir.
You don't force the President, Emmanuel Macron, to leave. I'm not in favor of an immediate and abrupt resignation. That would have a terrible impact. It would prevent a presidential election from taking place in the right conditions. But I believe he must take the initiative, and it seems to me that he would be doing the honorable thing if, for example, he proposed a name for Prime Minister, appointed a Prime Minister whose role would be to handle current affairs and to draft and pass a budget. And once that budget is adopted, once France has a budget, which is essential, he announces that he will organize an early presidential election, meaning he would step down immediately after the budget is passed.
Déclencher une élection présidentielle.
I am asking him to dissolve the National Assembly. If he wishes to leave his position and trigger an early presidential election, then it's his responsibility. But it is certain that when there is a democratic deadlock in a regime like ours, in a large country like France, then not only do we assume our responsibility, but we can consider against all odds that the French people are not the problem, but that they are also the solution. And so I solemnly ask him this morning, in the name of I believe millions of French people who can no longer tolerate this instability, in the name of our business leaders who are extremely concerned about the uncertainties, particularly budgetary ones that weigh on the French economy, on behalf of millions of French people who are waiting for concrete answers on health, on education, on security, on purchasing power, to return in a very healthy and calm manner to a new legislative election and to allow the French to choose a majority to once again pursue a policy that is a medium and long-term policy.
This meeting that we had called and proposed took place. We are delighted. La France Insoumise were present, as were Lappers, Generations, the Ecologists, and Lucie Castet's. It was a first step, and we were able to discuss many things, including the political situation. As you know, there has been a lot of talk in recent days about Emmanuel Macron's various options: resignation or impeachment, dissolution, cohabitation. We felt it was worth sitting down to discuss this. And it's certainly more complicated than last year, when there was a dissolution and we had to answer a very specific question. Now we have to consider and prepare for a lot of different scenarios together. Emmanuel Macron is responsible for the chaos we find ourselves in, which is political, democratic, but also social and environmental chaos, and so the situation is extremely serious. That is why today, there was a meeting that is not a suitable framework for us because the socialists and communists are missing today. For our part, my comrades and lappers and I are calling for all the forces that brought together 9 million votes a year ago to come together to face all the challenges that are sure to come, because the situation is unstable.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.